rolling.
Alrighty, so this is Coda's Roadmap to Success video. Yes, her. And I just want to go over a few things that we chatted about during the session as a good reminder. So one of the first things I want to remind you of is our petting with a purpose technique. Remember to pet her for good behavior. Especially for the next little bit, ask her to sit before you give her attention. That way you're reinforcing that calm energy is what gets her attention, and not calm energy doesn't get her attention. Remember that instead of, disagreeing with her or getting disgruntled with her, ignoring her bad behavior or unwanted behavior is actually a much more powerful tool. So if, for example, when you're coming home, remember that if you weren't going to walk through the door and she's too excited to walk to be able to handle that, sit outside for a second and don't open the door. That way she starts learning that really high excitable energy doesn't even get you to walk in the door. Don't worry about it. Dakota. She says, I love this toy. It's her favorite toy. So if she's being really excited, just stand outside and wait for her to calm down. And then start to open the door. If she's really hyper, shut the door. And keep doing this until you can walk all the way in and she's nice and calm. Now, remember, when you first walk through the door, she's going to be calmer than she used to be. However, if you look right at her and go to pet her immediately, she's probably going to get all ramped up again. So once you do walk in the door, don't look at her, avert your eye gaze and wait for her to be nice and calm before you start to engage with her. So she just learns calmness equals you walking in faster and she'll get attention quicker. So she starts to learn that that's exactly what she needs to do, and that's the new recipe for success. Good girl, Coda. So that's what you want to do there. Remember, thank you for this new toy. Good girl. That the other part of petting with a purpose is knowing when to not pet her. So if she's being, hyper again, don't pet her at that time period. But even if she's being anxious, if you give her long pets, that's only telling her, good, I like it when you do that kind of anxious behavior. Sit. Good girl. So that's the other part of the petting with a purpose. You can also use passive training. So if she's sitting there, that's a great time to start petting her and just say sit and pet her. If she's laying down, you can do the same thing. So that way you can kind of train her a little offline, meaning you're just pairing a word with whatever she's doing already. Good girl. Then remember, you can use the escalating consequences to disagree with her, and that's your new method. So you want to hiss, then stand up abruptly, turn and face her, and then walk towards her. And then if she's gone through that cycle a couple times, say she's trying to jump up on the furniture or the ottoman, then you can go to leash timeout. Remember that when you put the leash on, you don't want to ask her to lay down. You want to wait for her to lay down on her own. So that way she learns how to calm herself down and you don't have to direct her on what to do. And she should, if she goes into leash timeout a couple of times, get faster and faster at calming herself down because she knows what's expected. So you're letting her do most of the work. Remember that is a new rule for the next 30 days or for forever long, if that's what you wish, is no furniture. Remember, dogs sit in the order of their rank, so if she's sitting up on the furniture, she sees herself as at least an equal to you, meaning that listening is optional. Okay, and then the other rule that we incorporated is having her sit before going through doorways. And remember, you can ask her to sit and then start to open the door, and if she gets out of the sit, have her sit again until you can open the door all the way, give her a release word, and then go ahead and let her out. That's teaching her impulse control, sit, and looking to you for direction and leadership because she has to check in with you to be able to get that privilege. I want you to practice that leadership exercise that we went over of setting that invisible boundary with the treat. I would like you to practice that at least once a day for the next 30 days. Then after the next 30 days, do this once a week for maintenance. And then I personally still stick with this with my dogs years later. And I practice this once a month. I always do it on the first of each month. So I remembered that that's the day that I do the leadership exercise. And it's just a good maintenance thing to do to help keep order and structure in the home. And that way she doesn't regress backwards. And then I want to refer you to some other tutorials on our website for how to help her work through her dog reactivity, and that's through behavior adjustment training or BAT. So you can go to our website, doggoneproblems.com, click on dog training tips, and then there's a little search bar, type in BAT, B-A-T, or behavior adjustment training, and you'll see a bunch of free tutorials on how to go about that. Remember, the goal is to take it nice and slow. The best thing to do is be farther away from any other dog, like at a dog park. So that way you can slowly take steps forward. You want her to look really calm, keep the leash nice and loose, and when it's loose and she's calm, that's a good indicator that you can take a couple steps forward. Remember, when you start the next time period, you always want to start back a little farther than where you ended. You'll get the most success that way. And just kind of work slowly through that. You can really use the same approach to getting in the car. If she's all excited, go to put the leash on. She's too hyper, put the leash down, and keep going in that progression. If you go to open the door, too excited, shut the door, let her drag her leash around, supervise obviously so she doesn't get hurt. And keep on working on that until you can get her into the car and she's nice and calm. Because whatever energy she has when you start is what she'll have when she gets to the car. So if she's super hyper, she'll be hyper in the car. So that's the way to go about that. And then you can use the video above this one to help her stop kind of nipping at your hands when you go to pet her on top of her head. So you can use that video as a tutorial on how to go through that. And then lastly, I just kind of want to mention that you can use that invisible boundaries anywhere in the house. You could teach her not to go in the kitchen when you're cooking or anything like that. So you can really use that same method and approach to help her in a lot of different ways. All right, and then the last thing I want to mention is that everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it. Yes, girl. Good girl. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, you do this. Perfect.